Hello, I'm Dr. Rob Yeung, an organizational psychologist and author of How to Win the Argument, the Pitch, the Job, the Race. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the career race, how to get ahead, essentially. First of all, have a think about some of the most successful people that you know in your life. What do you think makes them successful? Now, if I think about some of the people that I work with, then I can think of quite a few very intelligent people, but actually they've got stuck somewhere in middle management. They don't always get to the top. Now, there are also some people who are technical specialists. They know everything about their field of work. They're experts in their discipline, but again, they don't get to the top. So what is it? It's something else, some third factor. And it's actually to do with relationships, because what research tells us, so studies done all over the world, from the US to Germany to China, is that actually there's some third category which people call either political skill, interpersonal nous, or I call it organizational savvy. Now, it turns out that there are 4 components of organizational savvy, so I'm going to talk you through these 4 components and give you a little bit of advice about how you can get on. So the first component of organizational savvy is something which I call social astuteness. So that's being able to read the thoughts and feelings of other people. Now, clearly we aren't actually telepathic, we can't actually read their minds, but we can observe and interpret body language. We can listen to someone's waver in their voice. We can see them shake their head in a meeting. We can see them in a meeting say something like, "I guess that's okay, we'll do it your way then." And we can sense that there's unhappiness there. So research tells us that people who are good at interpreting what people are really thinking, as opposed to what they're saying, tend to be more successful in life. So if you want to get better at the skill of social astuteness, then I recommend taking a notepad and a pen into your next meeting. Then pick one person in the meeting and scrutinize that person throughout the meeting, and try and listen to their voice, watch their face, their body language, and try and figure out what they're not saying, but what they might genuinely be thinking or feeling. The second component of organizational savvy is something that I call interpersonal flexibility. So that's adapting your personal style to the people that you work with. So for example, say I'm trying to persuade 2 people at work to work with me on a project, to do things my way. One person I work with, perhaps I know that actually he is fiercely numbers driven. He likes a business case. He likes facts and figures, and he likes a very brisk discussion. Well, clearly I've got to go with all of the facts and figures at my fingertips and be just quite businesslike in my presentation and discussion to him. But then perhaps there's someone else I'm dealing with who I know actually likes a lot of chit-chat, and they're much warmer and much friendlier. Well, perhaps then I've got to change my style, and we've got to be ready to spend a lot more time just chatting about their family and what we've been doing outside of the work at the weekend, for example. So this is interpersonal flexibility in action. Now, you might think that that sounds obvious, but there are some people who like to be very consistent. They say, "This is the way I am, take me or leave me." And unfortunately, having that consistent, stubborn attitude tends to be associated with less success in the workplace. So try to be more interpersonally flexible. The third component of organizational savvy is something which I call networking for diversity. Now, we've all heard the message before that it's important to network, to have groups of people that you can contact for information, for advice and help. But it's not just about numbers. Now, clearly, if you have 100 contacts and I only have 50, then you're probably better off. You'll have access to more snippets of information and advice than I will. But it's also about their diversity. So consider that there are 2 people in the same organization. We've got John and Jane. Now, John has 100 contacts, but only in 30 different organizations. Jane, on the other hand, has also 100 contacts, but in 45 different organizations. Now, you can immediately imagine that Jane will probably have access to a more diverse set of information, because John's network tends to be more inbred. They all tend to know each other. So it's about having advice and information from many, many different sources, as well as having a sheer number of contacts. So if you want to get better at networking for diversity, my advice to you would be to invest 2 or 3 hours every week in enlarging your network of contacts. So make it a priority, for example, to go for lunch with someone, perhaps someone in another department that you wouldn't normally have lunch with, rather than just the handful of mates that you like to hang out with. Ask them what they're working on, what they're looking for, what you might be able to help with, and just get to know a few more people every month. The fourth component of organizational savvy is something that I call integrity and demonstrable sincerity. Now, we all know how important it is to trust the people that we deal with. If you don't trust someone, then you're going to be cynical or skeptical about, well, frankly, everything that they say and do. So imagine if people don't trust you, if they're skeptical about your intentions. Now, of course, we know that we've got great intentions, but unfortunately, intentions are invisible. People judge us only on our actions and what we can explain, what we can tell them. So it's important to demonstrate our sincerity by constantly explaining why people should do the things that we want them to do. So it's about being patient and taking the time to say, well, I'd like you to do this because it's good for the organization, because it will save us money, because it's the right thing for customers. Sometimes we're all busy and we may forget, so we may say, well, could you do this for me, please? Quite often, though, people are skeptical and they'll think, well, why should I do that for you? Well, because it's only good for you, isn't it? So we need to explain why by using the word because a lot. So only by explaining our intentions can we demonstrate our sincerity and build stronger relationships. So I'm Dr. Rob Yeung, the author of How to Win the Argument, The Pitch, The Job, The Race, and this has been some of my thoughts on how to get ahead in the career race. Good luck.